Okay.
If you just want to start the meeting.
Yeah, we'll open the meeting at 5 o'clock sharp. And any adjustments to our agenda? Let me see. Okay. We have no public comment. Just waiting for.
Just waiting for on.
Okay.
So, while we're waiting for him, I'll just explain what I think is a good, fair thing. So I took the CMP bills from 2019 before we had solar and saw how many kilowatt hours that we use per year without solar
down to
the transfer station. So we use, give or take, around 6,000 a year. So what I did was I took the usage that is from the CMP bills, and then I added whatever we would need to make 6,000 a year. And so whatever I added would represent the solar generated and used at the same time.
Right. Yep.
And then I subtracted that estimated usage from the 27,600 that we're billed for every year to get the difference, and that number would be what he owes us.
Well, so that 6,000, and let's say what we've used since is 5,000. So the difference is 1,000. Is that way?
So if you want to come over here and look at this. So, okay, so let's use 2024, for example. So this is the total of the usage that the CMP bills say.
Yeah.
So then you would have to add 3,000 to it to make it around the 6,000 that we actually would have used for the year.
Yes.
So if you take that 3,000, that would be considered solar generated too. So if I take that 3,000 and add it to 2023's, which would be, so in 2023, we generated 18,000 plus the 30,000.
As reported on the CMP bill.
As reported on
Gotcha,
the CMP
yeah.
bills. Then we add this estimated additional 3,000 to come up with 21,000.
Right, yep.
And then we subtract it from what we were billed for, and this is what he would owe us for.
Yes, yeah.
Does that make?
Yeah, that's 1 year.
Yeah, and then, so I have 2,500 is really what he would owe for 2022, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Good way to do that.
Has he seen that?
No, I just did this today. I just got the 2019 numbers yesterday from CMP because they're not on the website anymore. And I did talk to them about the daily usage or whatever, and they're trying to put it on the website, but for commercial accounts, it's not ready yet. So when I click on that tab, it says coming soon.
Okay.
Okay, so here it is. And I'm just gonna turn this to you guys because I'd rather you guys see it.
Put it like at the end of that table there so we can all see.
Put them on the big screen.
You know?
Hello.
How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good. What's going on in Monson this week? Everyone preparing for the holidays?
Yeah, preparing for the rain that's gonna come tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be sunny down here in Pittsfield the rest of the week, probably in the 60s. So, you know, it's like the Mediterranean down here.
Hi, Yvonne. We'll introduce ourselves. I'm Sue Chase, and
I'm Jonathan Pullman. Aaron Zooming.
And we have a Glenn Poole in the audience here.
You going?
So, all right. So where do we start? This has been a confusing situation, and bear with us and patience with us. We're trying to figure all this in, a number of years, and I think this all started before any of us were on board, and so we were trying to gather the information and the communication. Some of it's been by phone calls, so we don't have that. And there's lots of moving things here we're trying to wrap our brains around. So we just want to come up with a fair resolution, and going forward, figure out what we have to do.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I guess I can.
You wanna go?
Yeah, I can. So I kind of had a brainstorm, I guess, as to what I think would be a fair way of moving forward, I guess. Because obviously we can't go back in time and create data that we don't know, and we can't change the behaviors of previous people and whatever.
Yeah.
So what I have done is I reached out to CMP and got our CMP bills from 2019, which would have been prior to when we had solar.
Yep.
And so for the usage at the transfer station for that year was 6,700, give or take. So what I did is I used 6,000 as an average, plus or minus a couple hundred below or over, for the year per year as to what the transfer station uses really. So then I took what the usage from the CMP bills were for the year and added them up, and then whatever. So say for example, 2023, according to the CMP bills, the usage for the year was 3228. So we would have to add 3,000 for mathematical purposes, 3,000 to make it around the 6,000, what it actually would have used. Because we know that it's not going to be using 3,000 total when before it was using the 6,000. So if we say we added the 3,000, that would represent the solar generated but used instantly. So if I took the 2023 generation for 18,000 according to the CMP bills and added the 3,000, which would again represent the solar generated and used instantly, then we would come out with 21,000 kilowatt hours used for that year. And I feel like that's a pretty good estimate as to where we would be if we had the data from the transfer station. And I also looked at what information you provided for the lots from, I think from June to whenever your email. And it was pretty consistent with what I was using for numbers. For what the actual usage at the transfer station would have been. If that makes sense.
I don't see it written on that table, but.
He's talking, but we can't.
Yeah, sorry. Elena, can you help me understand the numbers you're trying to derive through those calculations?
Send you a chart real quick.
Yeah, of course.
Hang on just a second. Let me grab my other laptop.
And I guess while Elena's in there, is it worthwhile? Do folks have a pretty good sense of kind of how the system works and the relationship with credits with CMP and kind of how the data gap has contributed to kind of information flow? Folks feel pretty good on where things are on that side of the house.
Yeah. I do have a question. The microinverters, are they all repaired now?
There are two that still need to be repaired, I believe. I haven't heard back from revision on that, nor have I looked at I can look at the monitoring and see where things are at as well.
So they
And
wouldn't
as we're
generate currently what the maximum they should be, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, there were a couple that it looked like were down. Let me see where things are at with that right now. Yeah, I think there's still a couple that are down.
And I know, back when Tyler Adkins was on the board, um, he had asked if we could get the login information so that we could see what everything was producing and how it was operating. Is that possible?
It is now. It wasn't when Tyler was on the board. In the agreement that was with the town was expected to have comms there, and they weren't there. And then we tried to put in a cell modem, and that didn't work either due to the coverage there. And so now that it's up, yeah, we can get a login. It's going to take. I probably have to do some finagling with Enphase in order to do that, but I can get that to you for sure.
Okay, so I just sent you that chart over.
I have it up, Elena. Yeah, you want to talk me through it?
Yeah, okay. So if you scroll to the bottom chart that has the transfer station usage. So in 2019, all of those numbers are the usage at the transfer station prior to solar. So what I did was I estimated an average of around 6,000 kilowatt hours per year for the transfer station. And then I just used whatever number, say 3,000, 6,000, 5,000, whatever, added it to whatever the usage according to the CMP bills are to come up with an actual estimated usage for the whole year.
For the dump, is that what you mean for that?
Yes, for the transfer station, yes.
Yep.
And so then if we used those numbers, then we could go to the chart at the top of the page where it says generation, and we could use those estimated numbers, which would represent additional generation that's not calculated on the CMP bills to get an estimated generation for that year.
Okay, we do have hard numbers for the generation to certain points, right? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand here is that the in the email that I sent you with the settlement side of things, let me just go over what had to happen if it's helpful. In absence of having any connection to the internet. What I needed to do was go up periodically, which I did for the first couple years, and take readings, take my phone and connect locally to the data logger that's within. So on the side of the transfers to the sand shed in the back, there's an electrical enclosure. Inside of there is the device that interfaces between the microinverters and the internet. So I would take screenshots that show the total, it's basically from the time it got turned on reading from the system. And so we did a settlement. I think we did a settlement for both of the first 2 years. And I believe the town ended up owing a little bit more. There was a credit that was given because there was some mix up with CMP and where the accounts were credited to early on that got taken care of in the early years. But um, the town's only been billed for the production from that up to, let me pull that email up. Sorry.
Definitely.
So I had your stuff that was open up, but there was a reading that was taken. And that's the screenshot from my phone that has Enphase on it with the 304 in the top left corner.
Yep.
And in the bottom, you can see under where it says 1.95 kilowatts, which is the power I was putting out at that time, it says 1.26 megawatt hours lifetime. So that's the level of granularity that we have. So it's 120. That means that from the time the system turned on, it put out 126,000 kilowatt hours. So that's where that's established. That was really the only, because there was no link to the internet, which provides a lot more granularity. That's the number that's there. So, it could be that that was 125,499 or 501 kilowatt hours, or it could be that it's 126,499 kilowatt hours because it only, the granularity is the megawatt hour. But so that's known, I would say. Like one of the challenges with like trying to estimate usage at the sand shed and the transfer station is that can be variable. And so this is kind of a known quantity. This is a stick in the sand, if you will, that's that's revenue grade metering. So that's where the 126,000 kilowatt hours that I note in that first paragraph under energy generation is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that plus the 8,400, you can see there's a lot more granularity in the report that the screenshot that I showed from the Enphase system below. So basically from the day I sent that email, which was back in September, you know, it was known that there was roughly 134,400 kilowatt hours that system had generated and provided as benefit to the town as it relates to Central Maine Power.
Okay.
And then you can see the last lifetime reading I had was December 12th, 2021. That was the last time that I traveled up to get a reading by connecting my phone to the data logger that's on site. I have a screenshot of that somewhere as well. But that was what established that for the settlement terms. At the beginning of this, the goal was that be able to log onto the computer, pull out a complete report very easily at the end of each year with internet access, but we haven't had that. We do now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm confused about the last quote unquote settlement that happened because I was here in December of 2021 and I don't really remember this happening. And how did it end? Like, did the town get a credit? Did the town owe something?
Yeah,
How did that end?
I'll pull that up. I've got it in the records and can send the invoices that had this settle up. Oh, let's see. Sorry if you're hearing trumpeting in the background. My son has a music thing tonight he's cramming for. All right. Let's look at the invoices. All right. Don't know why this is only showing me 10 invoices. Let me refresh here real quick. Odd. I may have to send that to you, Elena, but there's an invoice that shows. I believe it was a small additional amount that Monson owed and paid for as a fractional of a month.
Okay.
I can look through my email too and see if it's in there.
Okay.
For some reason, my accounting software isn't wanting to cooperate. Right.
Don't you love when that happens?
What's that?
Don't you love when that happens?
Yeah, it's really great. um, Let me check this way. Okay. Yeah, it looks like there was like a $56 invoice. Let me see if this will pull up. Is that correct? Yeah. I will send this over to you right now. This is a PDF. I'm just going to reply to the email that you sent, Elena.
That works.
So it's invoice 997-19. It was for 400 kilowatt hours at 14 cents a kilowatt hour.
And what was the date of that?
The date was December 14th was the invoice date. I can probably even give you the check number. It's, let me see. It got me to the invoice that way. Let's see. Payment. Check number 03766.
Okay, so from December.
What time was that? Here, it was more. 4 years earlier. Sometime generation. This was something I'm not seeing.
Hang on just a second.
This is from June, this reading, plus what's been generated since. That's what this,
Oh, I'm saying, okay, the reading was,
in December
and
was
then this
55.
means,
Now June was 126 plus.
gotcha,
What
from
it's
that
generated
one,
since
and,
then.
gotcha, okay. My numbers.
Yeah.
You looking that up right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to do. Okay, so that was in December of 2021. So
Yep.
if we. So if we look at how much we've been billed for since December of 2021, how many kilowatt hours, we would subtract that from or we would subtract 78,600, right? From what?
Yeah, so what I did, I looked at it. If you look under the chart that's got all of the columns, the blue columns and phase, and I have that this results in a total lifetime generation of 134,400 kilowatt hours. I basically transferred it into money. So basically said, okay, let's use that known reading that we had on December 21st because we don't have a lot of visibility into incremental because I didn't take other trips up there.
Right.
So we know that from the reading that we had back here in September or August, through the end of August, uh, there was what, 78,600 kilowatt hours in credit since the last settlement. So that means that's $11,000 ish, that $11,000 for $11,004 of credits per the per the rate in the contract. And then the payments that had been made since that time were $11,914. So that's what the 38 payments at $322. I mean, I can go back and we can figure that out in kilowatt hours if we want to.
Yeah.
Everything's 14, just at that 14 cent per kilowatt hour rate.
Okay. Hang on just a second.
So what you're saying is the credits that you owe us versus what we owe for payments, the total comes to $11.04.
No, sorry. 11th, no, sorry. That should have been a comma instead of a period in that last sentence. So at 14 cents per kilowatt hour, this is a total of $11,004 since mid-December of 2021. Sorry about that.
I guess. Because 2022 times. So you're saying there's a difference of like $900?
Yeah. There's about a different, and that was at the end of whenever that was sent. So that would have been through the end of August. There's about a $900 difference. And as I mentioned in there, there's underperformance because 18 of the microinverters were not operating, which is not visible. Like I can't, I can't with that connection to the phone, even if I went up there to the phone, the only thing I would know is that it was underproducing. Um, and so a big portion of that was that they required firmware updates. I think something they may have had a glitch that needed to be in their software that needed to be addressed, and because they couldn't talk to the internet, they were unable to do that. And so that caused the underperformance during that period.
So there's 18 total microinverters?
No, there are 20. What are they? Sorry, no, it's 72. Is that right?
74, I think.
So if they were all in
72.
all at the same time and they all required the same firmware updates, how come some of them were still working?
It's the production. It's one of the weird things that happens with these. They get produced in various streams, and so depending upon some of the batches in terms of how the software works, they may have had, because they never, like, typically what would happen is that when this thing gets commissioned and turned on, that first talks to the internet, and then it will update the firmware on all of the microinverters, and they'll be operating at with the same software version. What happened here was whatever the software version was that was on the microinverters when they were shipped is the software that was being used to run them during the time that it was not connected to the internet. Once it got connected to the internet and those firmware updates were able to be pushed, they all started operating on the same. And then during that time, identified that there are four microinverters that need to be replaced.
The only thing that I understand the transition to money and all of that, but if I do out the math for how many kilowatt hours we would have been billed for per year, it's still short.
Yeah, and this says that it's short. I mean, this basically says that um, since January, the town, I got to check that number because that number doesn't come out, but made those payments and had overpaid through August based on the reduced performance of the system. And part of that is I mean, it's reduced more than that because, the town hasn't been making payments on this for months. I don't even know, I don't even know where we're at right now. Um, I have it in my system here, but so that makes that difference in terms of performance look smaller. It actually was bigger because it was, 18 out of 72. So a little bit over 20% of the array was not generating electricity from the time that they went offline until the time the system was connected to the internet.
Because I'm just saying my thoughts out loud.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we have the 78,600 that we know was generated since the last settlement.
Yep.
Correct. Okay. So that number is the generation.
Yep.
So if we do year to year from 2022, we would have been billed for 27,600 kilowatt hours per year. Okay. And
Yep.
then if you do that for 2023, 2024, and then 2025 is a little confusing because this is only December. So we haven't finished 2025 yet. So let's do just those 3 years. That's 82,300 that we would have been billed for without including any of the generation that happened in 2025. So that's already over. Do you see what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah, and this gets back to Elena, is that the town hasn't I mean, this isn't looking at the production through the thing. This is like what the town has paid. And the town, I can pull it up, but the town stopped making payments on this back in.
which if we can figure out a way to get the settlement under control, like I have no issue issuing a check for all of the past due amounts, and then we can both be happy. I just, in my head, it's more than $900 because if we're billed for 27,600 a year, that's 3 years. That's 3 times 27. That comes out to 82,300. So say we'll include December. So let's just say we've been billed, quote unquote, billed for 23,000 for year 2025 instead of the full 27,000. That is 100 plus 23,000. It's 105,300. So if we subtract the 78,600, then because that's the generation that we know about, then there's 26,700 kilowatt hours that we have paid for or should be paying for, that should be times 14 cents to come out to 3,700.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, part of the problem here is like that should be January of 2022 because it was mid-December 21. So, right. That's the payments were made. The settlement happened at the end of 2021. So I'm sorry. It's my mistake in the confusion because that should have said since January 2022 because the last reading was in December of 2021. So totally understand where that was, and that's 100% my fault for transposing the years in the email.
The total payments was January 22.
Yeah, it should be, under total payments, that should say January 2022 because we had the stuff at the end of 2021. So 100%, and I'm sorry for that confusion.
But what I'm saying is from January of 2022 to now, we should have been billed for like 105,000 kilowatt hours.
I can pull up, let me do this right now. So at the time that that email was sent, Monson had paid up through the credits for the month of January,
Mhm.
right? So I guess that kind of makes it easier, right? So essentially, that's where the 38 payments, and that I've got to double check this, but it's essentially about 3 years of payments that were made, right? So we had the settlement in December, that's the last known number. And then starting January 2022, not 2021, there would have been 3 years plus a month or two there in which Monson had made payments, right, towards the energy. And so that if you take it from an energy standpoint to the end of August, this is not counting the credits from February through August that Monson had not paid for. And that's why I'm saying that the number would be far different in terms of from a production standpoint. Um, the difference between what what Monson had Monson paid all the way through the end of August, and what was owed as a result of the generation would have been bigger um,
Okay.
because of the underperformance. Does that make sense?
I, yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm
So,
really sorry for that
no, that's
missing
okay.
date.
I,
Confuses
I, I
things.
totally.
So if we,
So if we had paid those,
It would look
then the settlement would be more.
Well, the
Is
set, I mean, you would have overpaid from a how many kilowatt hours were generated versus how many got paid for. That difference would have been far larger.
right.
It's now flipped. I haven't checked the generation recently, but I'm sure this has flipped pretty significantly because the town, it was about even, give or take $900 back in August, and then the system's generated power since then, right?
Right. So,
see, in my head, I'm looking at it as two separate things. If we look at
yeah,
what we owe you for payments,
Yep.
and we take a look, because roughly, if you average out each year, it's roughly, they're coming up about 700 kilowatt hours short per month. So if you multiply that by 12 months, that's roughly 8,400 kilowatt hours that they're not producing that we're paying for.
For the
So,
year.
for the year. So if we say that's what you owe us for this year, and then you say this is what we owe you for payments, and we subtract those, that will give us a number of where we're at, whether you owe us, we owe you.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a like where we are at to.
Trying to transfer, what our payments and the kilowatt hours and usage, if you just separate the two, it
Yep.
just seems much simpler to be able to explain it.
Yeah. Is it easier to explain from the dollars or the kilowatt hours?
okay. So hang on. Let me.
Because I'm happy. Yeah, I'd be happy to put together either in more clarity for where we are. I can't do it on the spot right now, but
I mean,
after
if,
we
if,
close the
say
meeting.
if you owe us roughly 8,400 kilowatt hours per year, we times that by 14 cents. That's how much you owe us, and you tell us we owe you this much money, so now they're both in dollar signs.
Right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we can definitely get. I mean, what is it John or Aaron?
Aaron.
Aaron. So Aaron, I think what I'm hearing you say is that it would be, I mean, I think we're looking at numbers that are several months old. And so it would be good to have numbers that represent kind of today, right? And to then take a look at in dollars. Is that what you're saying? You would like to see like how much the town has paid during that period, and then how much should have been owed during that period. Is that what you're saying? Or looking at
Yes,
it from a kilowatt hour
yes.
standpoint? Yep. Yep. And yeah, and that was the that was the attempt back in September, was just trying to find a place where we could just restart this now that there's data moving forward, to get things whole for everybody, and then to make sure that moving forward we don't, I mean, this won't be a problem provided the internet remains at the transfer station because then we'll be able to have what's needed moving forward, right?
So you're agreeing with our numbers and our estimates as far as what you would owe us?
I mean,
If we weren't
yeah,
counting the payments that we owe you.
yeah, I guess I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to look at where we'd be, but yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying that way. So let's assume, I think what I'm hearing you say, Aaron, is like if Monson had paid, like if we just look at it in terms of what's on the books, in terms of what Monson was supposed to pay up to this date, and
Right.
then we look at what's been generated and what that should be, what that looks like, the difference between those two would be the settlement. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, 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 yeah. We get that.
So I have a question also then, if the system isn't generating what it should be generating because of those few microinverters, how does that affect going forward? It seems like we're not generating what we should in terms
Yeah,
of getting
it,
credits.
it right now is about the margin probably of error for the estimates versus what that bill looks like. I mean, just to be frank, like there have been pigeons that are there and there needs to be cleaning that happens under them and then probably like what's called squirrel cage around it that I'm going to need to pay for. And if like I don't want to go expend more money when there's not money that's flowing from the town of Monson right now and want to get to a place of resolution on this before I
Right.
spend more money on it.
I,
What's that?
I think we all want to get to a point of resolution. I think the
Yeah,
reason we stopped payment is because communication wasn't happening. And now that communication is restarted, I think we'd like to be in a position where we feel like it's being serviced and where you feel like we're making our payments. And I think we're all
totally.
on board with that.
Yep.
But we didn't know that the internet was an issue because that was never communicated to us until we stopped payment.
No.
It was to Daniel and it was to Elena after she came on.
Before we stop paying.
We did, okay.
Yeah.
So I just think that yeah, I mean, we want to we want to bring this back into a
Totally.
working relationship. So
Yep.
let's make that assumption. And it's not like we've been setting aside that money that we pay. We haven't been spending it, so it's still there.
Yeah. For
To
sure.
get this resolved.
Yeah, and I mean, so you all know I mean, you all weren't around when this happened. Like this is as much a philanthropic endeavor as like on my end and as it is like this, I was a local company. I just sold it to the employees. I knew Monson, I knew Tyler. I wanted to see some of this go into an investment that would pay for itself, but also offset, electricity that would have to be bought from CMP otherwise. I mean, I could sell, there are things called renewable energy credits that every time a kilowatt hour gets generated from that array, I could sell in a market. I don't sell it because the goal there was to kind of reduce carbon for the town of Monson and put the money in a good place. And right now, I mean, it's highly profitable for Monson. Like we negotiated a really nice deal that kept a fixed rate. Like CMP's rates are probably close to double right now what they were when we executed this. And so, I mean, the biggest thing for me, like you all, is just to get this to a place where we don't have to think about it and the thing works and the payments go. And, I think the challenge has been, I mean, there have been gaps in communication and just like non-payment without communication about the non-payment and just getting this to a place where we're like in good relationship and it's not a headache. I mean, there are days I'm just like, shit, it would be easier for me just to get a buddy and go take the thing down and just like move on, which I mean would be, me spending days I'd rather be spending with my kids and for you all would be like more expensive electricity. And I don't think it works for anybody. I just would like to get to a place where I mean, I've kind of gone above and beyond, honestly. Like we spent that cell modem costs money. Those trips to Monson cost money. A lot of those things cost money and not looking to get compensated for all of it, but just to get into a place where like both parties are made whole and to your point, John, so that we're like, yeah, it's just we got a good relationship, things are going. If a thing pops up it's just a quick call and we get it figured out and things get moving back to where they're supposed to be going.
Right, and for the taxpayers of Monson, we just want to make sure that this
100%.
is, monetarily advantageous to us and it's not costing us more than it would not to have it.
Yeah, and to that point, Sue, like it's doing that and way more right now. Like I said, you're paying 14 cents per kilowatt hour for the energy that's coming off of this, and I think I haven't poked my nose into what the small generalist service rate is, but I think it's closer to like 30 cents right now, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, like this thing's really good for and I feel you. I mean, I've been involved in civic government down in Pittsfield. I was on the planning board, like really committed to making sure that taxpayers are being taken care of, and yeah, understand your charge to make sure that they are.
Perfect. Perfect. So where do we stand at this point? Like, we're in agreement, but some of the numbers need to be worked out. Is that?
I
Yes.
I would just say we do the annual set. Let's just do an annual settlement at the end of December. I mean, we're almost there right now, right? So why don't we just do an annual settlement at the end of December and just have a clean slate for 2026 and we'll figure out kind of where things are owed and where they're not. Um, I mean, yeah, I think the thing that's just hard for me to digest is like, and this isn't your fault. Like the original commitment in the contract signed by the town that said that communication was going to be there, and then I'm going to take it in the teeth for a bunch of time when the system wasn't generating, and there was really nothing besides me going up there monthly and taking readings that would have been able to do anything about it. And so, I mean, it would be great for us to get to a place where, um, yeah, again, I don't expect all of that, but it would be great to have some discretion from the town on that, given that the town didn't fulfill the obligation for having comms on.
Um, so I guess I just have, when you do the reconciliation or whatever, is it going to be as if we had paid the bills and then
I can just, yeah, I mean, I can do it a couple of ways. You tell me what works best for the accounting, Elena. Like I can either put together a statement for all of the bills that were due and then put a credit together. Because I think you have all those bills probably in an inbox somewhere. So I can either do it as a statement with the final invoice, and a settlement, and then you can pay the balance. Does that make the most sense on your end?
Well, the only reason why I ask is because I just did out a little bit of math to try to understand a little bit. So, okay, say, and I'm again thinking out loud because I want
Yeah.
us to all be on the same page. So, say if we had paid the $322 every single month from for all of 2022 to 2025. So say this month is over and we're talking in January. Okay, so that would be $15,456. But so I guess we would have a little less than that, considering the reading would have been from August, you said?
Yeah, I think it's end of August that we're the last. So,
August.
basically what I will be looking at is the running total number, and then there are really two ways to go about it. Like we can either cancel all of the invoices that took place between the last time you all paid and today, and I could just put together a settlement invoice, singular settlement invoice there, and cancel those other invoices. Or we could just have all of those invoices, and then I have an invoice that will likely be a credit to Monson. Um, that will then dictate what the final payment is. It's just two different ways of doing the accounting.
Okay.
It's probably, yeah, I mean, I think it's more, you tell me what you need. It doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. It's going to be similar math. It's just going to be, what does the paper trail look like?
Okay. Well, I was just doing of the math as if like we got a settlement had we paid all of what we owed and then minus the 11,000 of the
So yeah,
78.
I mean, right now, let me just go through. I was able to pull up the stuff in the accounting. I had the wrong settings going up here. So it should, if this thing's smart enough, give me a full list of balance. Let's see. Right now, that's a nice round number. There's $3,220 of overdue payments from the town of Monson, based on the invoices that have been sent out, right? And so there will be one more invoice for another $322, which would mean closing out. Um, I mean that's actually with the last invoices through the end of the year, so that's 3220. So like if you were to like if we were just saying you paid those invo I'm not saying that we do that, but if you were to say like, okay, you cut a check and it gets sent to me tomorrow for 3220, then I would go in and run the last settlement invoice based on the numbers of what was supposed to be generated, what you were billed during that period and what was generated during the period, and probably makes sense to go back to the last reading just so we can have a clean number there. And then I mean, if we were just doing it straight across the board, there would be a balance due back to the town of Monson. And I would need to write a check to you. I mean, I would prefer that we just have the last statement, um, basically deal with the invoices and be, a check from Monson for the balance that's due, which is going to be a small amount.
Right. Right. I'm coming with like give or take $500.
Yeah, I mean we have to pull the data. We have to pull the data from Enphase, right, to see what that report looks like. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I think we're on the same page there then.
Yeah. And
And
then yeah, go ahead.
the only thing about, I guess it doesn't really matter because I was thinking like that's a expense line for us. So if we wouldn't show it as a revenue to put in surplus, but if we're not expending it, it's gonna go to surplus anyway. So I guess it doesn't matter either way, what way we do it. So if it works easier for you to just do like a settlement thing and then the check or whatever, however it comes out at the end, that's fine.
Okay. So I will do that in early January once we have data through the end of December, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
And well, I hate to harangue on this one, but do you have any idea, how, like when Revision Energy is gonna be able to address the issue with the non-functioning micro inverters?
Yeah, I mean, I think once we get this settled and I get payment and stuff squared up, I'll dispatch them to take care of it. I mean, what's going to show up as, it's not going to have much impact in the near term. I mean, I'm getting messages that the array's under snow right now anyway, so it's not really
Sure.
generating any power right now. So yeah, I'll dispatch them once we get this thing settled up and
Yeah, same thing on my rooftop solar right now. The snow is not.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we
right?
made some headway here.
For sure. Does somebody want to, I mean, as a trade for the down comms, does somebody want to go clean some, does anyone on the town crew go clean, pigeon droppings that are up there that revision needs to have removed before? I mean, I don't know if town crew's there. I mean, I'm laughing about it, but I am somewhat serious. Like, I mean, there's like material loss here from the town not having comms there. I don't need it to be all back paid, but it would be nice if I'm going to have expenditures going forward on some of this stuff. Like if there's town crew that could go out there and pressure wash the area where there's an issue.
See what
I
we
could
can do.
fit- What's
Yeah,
that?
See what we can do.
yeah, we work
Okay.
on volunteers on that one, because we only have one public works employee.
Okay.
Who's responsible for everything else, including roads
That-
right now.
I mean, that would be awesome, and it feels like a really easy way to kind of put all of that stuff behind. If you all were amenable to it and could find somebody to go do it, it'd be great.
And all that stuff is fine to be pressure washed. Correct?
It's underneath, so it's just underneath the array on the. There's just droppings. The pigeons have gone underneath and kind of nested under there, and so on the roof itself. I can come up, like if you all have folks that want to do it, I'd come up too, just to make sure nothing gets damaged. But it's like, otherwise I'm gonna have to dispatch somebody that, unbelievably, there aren't people that in Greenville or Guilford or Monson that do this for a living that are easy to dispatch. So I'm sure there are some folks around that would do it. And so, if we could work together on that, that would be awesome.
Well, I'm just curious, how does that affect the solar, the pigeons underneath the arrays?
It doesn't unless they it's usually the squirrels that are the problem because they'll chew on the wires. But with the pigeons, it's more when revision goes up there, like the droppings are a biohazard for them if they're all in there. And so having it cleaned off from a distance can help alleviate that so they're not having to deal with it.
Makes sense, okay,
Yeah.
Sure, we can figure something out.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it. I figure we figure something out. And I'm sorry that this has been a hassle. I know it predates you all and it's been a hassle here too. And I'm really, I figured some face to face. I wish I could have been there. But yeah, I appreciate you accommodating me being here on Zoom.
Appreciate your time also and working through this, I know.
Yeah.
Be good to get the access to the,
Yes, if you
Yeah,
can send.
that's on my list too. I've got that as well. Yep. Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a great evening and happy holidays all.
You as well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that was good. All right, well, we'll see.
it sounds like basically you haven't paid them about $3,200 and they owe you just about the same thing.
Right.
Well, if my math is right,
How many years then? A month?
since we paid him, since January,
Oh, yeah, since we paid them, January.
Oh, 25.
right, so almost a
A
year.
year.
So if my math is right, he's gonna end up owing us, give or take, like $500.
Yeah.
And
So
We're
that
not gonna-
78,000 number may be a little different.
right, it'll be more though.
Yeah.
Come
Right.
the end of December.
Yeah.
So, but like, okay, so I did the math of, so we basically owe him 3,800. And then,
He was us about the same amount,
yeah,
Give or take.
give or take a few hundred.
so,
But that's something to think about going forward, that's basically close to $1,000 a year. That we're not, that we're getting overbilled,
right,
just.
future reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting. I understand that the not making the payments has been frustrating for him, but in my estimation, that's the reason why we got here. is because
That's
we
why he's on the
stopped
phone
paying.
tonight.
Right,
And,
Unfortunately, I do that.
I mean, it took him, even though we stopped in January, it took him quite a while to even pay attention.
Just like,
Right.
you know, like I said, an email was sent to Vaughn confirming that there is now internet at the transfer station,
Mhm.
October 15th. June 3rd, got connected to the internet. So this isn't an us problem.
right, that's what I was trying.
And when he was trying to relay everything into kilowatt hours and price, I couldn't figure out what the hell he was meaning, whether we were gonna owe him or
Right.
vice versa,
A lot
but
of
was,
numbers.
did you understand any of that? Because with the numbers like close to what, cause I feel like it was just trying to confuse the hell out of us.
Well, it was
Yes.
easier to understand once he put them in dollar amounts versus the kilowatt
I mean,
hours, but essentially
It's all
it's
philanthropic anyway.
and so, you know,
It's just all, you know.
It was all just a favor.
Yeah.
and so like, what basically why we weren't agreeing is because I was calculating the difference as if we had paid
Right, he
Right.
wasn't.
and he
Right.
wasn't.
Right.
So I'm like, no.
He was
you only-
subtracting
Right.
what we had paid.
Right.
Right.
Which I understand why he was doing that accounting wise, but I also understand why we were adding.
Right, because I
because
would gladly
we
take
essentially
that,
have been in-
giving ourselves the credit.
Right,
So he's gonna send you this settlement at the end of the month
In January.
in January for that includes the end of the month. So let's put this on our agenda for next month's meeting.
You
so
betcha.
probably if it comes in January, it might be February before we actually
Could be.
Discuss it, yeah.
True, right. January or
He's right, though, that you're paying less than. what
Oh,
CFP,
absolutely.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to look up the,
Yeah, when we're getting the credits back, we are getting a
right,
deal.
when we're getting credits.
But if we're not, then we're
Right.
not getting a deal.
Right, it should be, I mean, this is supposed to be done every year, right?
Right.
Like,
And he's saying,
and I get that there wasn't internet, but I understand all of that. But
He has no incentive to settle up when he owes you money.
absolutely,
True.
I mean, it benefits, like, yeah, as long as you're making payments and not starting, you know, making trouble.
then we don't need to do no settlements.
And we have an incentive to make sure he gets them all working.
Right,
That's why I kept pounding on that. If we're not producing, then we're losing money,
Yeah.
right?
Maybe we should stop feeding the pigeons too.
I
All
don't
that
think there's
trash
any way to
they've
get
been
rid of them.
Feasting on down there.
We have some year-round hawks up there or something, or
Yes.
put up the.
Put an owl up
plastic
there,
owls.
right?
Some falcons.
Is there anybody in town, they wanna start a hobby, falconry?
Falconry.
Molly and I were sitting on our front porch as we down in Orange, and there's a bird out, or dove out on the lawn, you know. Here comes this hawk in.
Oh,
Just a big explosion of feathers.
but seriously, I wonder what like a fake owl would do up there.
I don't know, they have them all over, like Denver had them everywhere,
Yeah,
fake owls, and then they had fake coyotes.
they had that in Rangeley, coyotes
Geese, to
along
try to keep the geese.
the
off.
geese, right?
It didn't work.
It didn't work, no, it didn't in Rangeley either.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we're still in meeting.
That's okay, that's all right. I'm gonna go grab a couple more pieces.
Okay.
While you guys are.
All right. Glenn, thank you for
Yeah.
just being here and helping.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
Yep, we'll see you.
Yeah.
Good night, both of you.
Yes, bitchy shit is,
Thank you so much for coming, really appreciate it. All the fun we get to
I
have.
wouldn't really call it a biohazard, as long as you're not licking the roof. I deal with worse stuff every day,
I
I was-
and
imagine.
it's just about all how you approach it.
Well, I think on top of getting that settlement, staying on top of when he's gonna get these panels fixed.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I was just saying, on top of getting the settlement, we should make sure that he's following up and getting the inverters fixed with
Yeah.
condition.
For sure.
And I know one thing, if we can ask them, what is safe to use to clean the snow off?
I told my husband that at the rooftop, just take a hose up there, right? So you can't, you're not supposed to scrape it or anything, but water?
I know they told Tim Bushin not to do anything.
Yeah, I know, they told us that too, but it's gonna rain tomorrow, so hopefully everything will slide.
But like even like the panels up on Tyler's property, even though that are at an angle, I mean, last time I went by there, they were still all covered in snow.
There was
Right.
13 that didn't have snow on them Monday or
Mon-
Tuesday, I counted. 13 individual squares that didn't have.
Yeah.
Snow.
All right, shall we move on? We got miscellaneous?
I don't think I have anything to add under miscellaneous. I always just keep it on the agenda
On the
just in case
agenda?
something comes up throughout the day. Okay, you have something.
Well, I do, I just wanted to respond and, to the feedback on the winter decorations in town.
Oh, yeah.
I know you shared that there've been some concerns.
Yes.
So, Sandra had emailed, I reached out to her, cause this is like falls under beautification committee. The Christmas tree, has been up since last week with the fire department help, she said. But the lights just went up, this morning, cause we were, Steve is just one person, we needed his help. And Wayne is, gonna get the battery box over there today, she said, to power the lights. So that should be taken care of. As far as wreaths on the poles, we just can't win. So the couple of factors go into this for beautification committee. They're expensive. And then we were getting complaints because the last several years they were up, the wind was just decimating them and we couldn't get the lights to stay on and they were just like the flags,
Yeah, so we haven't had them, we haven't had the wreaths since 2021, I think,
Yeah, well,
or 2022.
a little later than that, cause we went with these lights,
Yeah.
trying to think of something that would be not decimated in the wind and the weather and the plowing and everything else too. So we do have winter banners coming. snow
Oh,
roller
I do
banners
have
will be
them.
coming. Although the one in front of the general store, that banner, somebody ran into last week, the bottom pole is missing and the banner is ripped. So when the new banners come.
The new banners are here,
Okay,
so.
so I don't know if we can run those banners parallel to the road instead. We can't put them over the sidewalk because
People will walk into them.
yeah, those poles are too short to do that.
So sure, run
Run
them
them parallel.
particular, that one.
I mean, I think we're just gonna have to live with once in a while, they're gonna be
Yeah.
ruined, but, yeah, and then, Steve mentioned as far as winter, we can embellish the white rope lights with red rope lights in between next year, so it's just a matter of budgeting because all the money,
Yeah,
And people
Comes through.
to put them up because
And, I
Steve
mean,
is not.
people,
and yeah, he's only one person.
one person had mentioned that they had noticed down in Guilford that they did something different this year.
I
I haven't
saw
paid
that
attention,
too.
so I don't know what it is, but just, I guess, things along that
Well,
line that
see,
we can.
The thing, cause conveniently at our last county managers meeting last week, we actually talked about decorating in town and like every other town has a committee separate from the town that decorates. That, like Milo, for example, Milo goes all out for Christmas.
They do their own fundraising.
But yeah, and it's called Friends of Milo and they're completely separate from the town. And they sponsor wreaths and they go around to the businesses to have businesses sponsor wreaths and they put all the wreaths up and all of that stuff. So the idea is fantastic. I would love to decorate
It's
the
just gonna
entire
be us
town.
as the committee.
It's
Well,
just, I know, that's
that-
just
like,
it. Is
that was
we
my
can't
point.
really have a committee because
I
it's
mean-
gonna be us four.
We
Right.
need volunteers and we've reached out, as far as the beautification committee, like,
Right,
we just need people to help us.
and it's, I mean,
I think if you would say to me, hey, we're gonna put up decorations, you wanna help? I would say yes. I can't necessarily just say, I'm gonna volunteer for everything you guys do.
Right,
Be on
right.
board with it.
All
but-
right, we will call you. But it is also just coming up with ideas that will work on
don't
this
cost
road,
Because the-
Yeah.
the
cost.
main street is such a funnel that those wreaths, like there was literally nothing, the brackets were broken all
Yeah,
the
the
time.
brackets, right.
We picked more up out of the road than they ever hung right. I mean, I still have a couple broken ones downstairs underneath the
Yeah.
stairs.
And we were also trying to do something that was more winter theme rather than just a holiday
So
theme.
that we could leave it for the winter. Although
Yeah.
Milo leaves up their Christmas decorations, not necessarily their tree, but they leave them up till the snow goes away.
Yeah, we got complaints about that last year,
Yeah, I know.
keeping them up a little too long.
Yeah, we can't win. We just can't win.
But they're lights. They're not Christmas themed.
Well, that's why we did that, the white. You know, when we add the red next year, I'm sure that will be, I don't know, we
I
just
don't
can't
know.
win. But we need volunteers, that would be,
Yeah.
and you know, and gosh, we're doing fundraising on top of that. I mean, Sandra's making the crocheted cat, the mice, and we're doing the seed
Yeah.
sale, so.
We do the cleanup day in the spring, right? Do we have, do people help on that day?
The high school students get community service
Could we
credit.
do that with our, I guess we don't want high school kids hanging off ladders, trying to hang lights on.
Oh, yeah,
No,
I
I was
know.
thinking, like, is there a way we could do a townwide, like, beautification day in the fall that like puts up lights that we could turn on in, like, this time of year, rather than waiting until it's cold and
Coldish.
windy and.
We could try that next fall.
I think you should start that committee.
Yeah.
I'm kidding,
trying
I'm
to-
kidding.
I'm trying to offload stuff.
Yeah.
I can get off of stuff. No, that's an idea. We could see if anybody
A
helps.
reverse cleanup day, a messy day. No,
Yeah.
there has to be something.
I know when years ago, when Daniel was town manager, and I was asked to get on the beautification committee. And then he was expecting those of us on the beautification committee to put the flags up. I was like, I don't think you want at the time, 66-year-old woman up on a ladder putting these flags up. Is there liability for the town?
I mean, Bill liked putting up lights. He's still in town. Contractor.
Well,
No, he just likes to stand at the bottom of the ladder, telling us you don't do it.
yeah, I was gonna say that got dangerous. I was really waiting for that,
But we are,
but yeah.
okay.
So,
All right.
Okay, hang on. Let me end this. Actually, no, you.
So I'll make a motion to go into executive session for 1 MRSA 4056A personnel matters.
Sorry.
All in favor? All right. We are in exec session 6:13.